Hello and welcome to episode 410 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. I'm Ben Olson. With me is Nathan Fox. We're the co-founders of LSATdemon.com and the LSAT Demon Daily podcast. If you want to be LSAT famous, you can share news and ask questions on our website. That's thinkinglsat.com. Coming up today. Wow. Okay. Today, Monday, July 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be doing a free class on reading comprehension. You can sign up for that class by going to lsat.link/Ben. We will do, if you end up joining, you will do a reading comp passage, answer the questions associated with that passage, and then I will read the passage to you, showing you how I'm reacting to each sentence as I go through it. And then, of course, we'll go over any questions that you want to go over from the passage. If you can't make it, that's okay. You can still go to lsatdemon.com/classes, go back to Monday, July 10th, 2023, and you can find the recording by Tuesday, I think. So.
Yeah. And if you have a free account, you can scroll back and see all of Ben's old classes and all of my old classes, or all the free ones anyway that we've given away. There's like hundreds of hours probably of free stuff that you can do with a free LSAT Demon account. So start with all that stuff. And if you dig it and you want more, we got you on paid plans if you want to do your prep with us.
Yeah, very cool. Let's jump into this opinion piece on the New York Times that you found this morning. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I just spotted it this morning. It's by Richard Aram and Mitchell Stevens. Aram is a professor of sociology and education at the University of California, Irvine. Stevens is a sociologist at the Stanford Graduate School of Education. The headline of this opinion piece is, "For most college students, affirmative action was never enough." So a bit of a follow on to our rush. We did a rush analysis of this Supreme Court ruling last week. Got that out to you as soon as we could. We've had some time to think about it and, of course, read all of the commentary about that decision ending affirmative action, at least formally, in college admissions. But this graphic, I mean, do yourself a favor and at least click the link here to see this graphic, because it has America's major four-year colleges arranged by their admission rates, and it's using bubbles to show the size of the college, and then the bubbles are sorted by admission rate. So there's schools at the top that have a 10% admission rate, less than 10% admission rate, and they're very few. It's Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Columbia, Yale, Duke, Princeton, Penn, Brown, Ivy Leagues, and like lots of the places that you would think, right? And okay, does it matter at those schools? Hell yeah, it matters at those schools because they are very selective. But as you scroll down, you start to realize that college, for most people, and this Supreme Court ruling applies to all college applicants, but most people go to schools that aren't selective at all. It says just 6% of all college students attend a school with an acceptance rate of 25% or less. So, there are some schools, Michigan, Virginia, Wake Forest, Villanova, UC Irvine, Miami. These are undergrad schools that are like kind of selective. And then as you scroll down in the infographic, it's striking how many schools there are, how big those schools are, and how low their admissions rates are. So, for example, Pennsylvania State University, which no one's ever heard of, except for the 70,000 students who actually go there.
That's wild.
And the admission rate there is 55%. When we get to a point where they're admitting more than half of the applicants, then presumably affirmative action is going to have less of an impact on any given applicant's chances at that school. And it gets worse from there. You scroll down and it's kind of, I'm dealing with a moth infestation of my house right now, Ben. Like moths have been roosting, probably laid eggs. It's disgusting. Underneath the like gutters outside the house.
Okay.
And just because of that, there's like hundreds or thousands of them out there. And I'm like out there with a can of Raid, taking years off my life by spraying Raid on these things, trying to get them the fuck out. Because some of them get inside. And especially at night when the lights are on and it's so dark outside, and then there's just moths in my house. It's disgusting. That's what this makes me think of when I scroll down and I see the proliferation of these colleges. It's like, oh, it's just kind of like, whoa, it feels organic. It feels like parasitic, especially the way this graphic makes it look.
Yeah.
Because the graphic also looks like cancer or something. Anyway.
So many schools accepting each of these schools, right? There's so many, and each of them say like 30,000 students, 20,000 students. It's like, wow.
And there's smaller ones too. I mean, there's tiny little schools, like Finlandia University, whatever the hell that is. It has only 400 students, but it admits 78% of all applicants.
Yeah.
So the point is, what are you getting for your money? Because the thing that schools try to sell you is this myth of, oh, you're getting something that other people can't get. When they send you your admission letter.
Yeah.
It's a very like, you're so blessed to be getting this, like congratulations on being you're going to be part of the University of Alabama class of 2027. And it's such a privilege, whatever. And then meanwhile, you look at this and you go, yeah, wait, there's 30,000 students there and they admit 79% of all their applicants. And I haven't even gotten to the bulk. Okay, check this out. It's not until you reach admissions rates of 70% to 80% that you begin to see the colleges that the majority of students attend. So we get so caught up in thinking about the top of these, arenas or whatever you want to call it. But the truth is that most people are going to a school that most people go to, and most colleges admit most people who apply.
Yeah.
56% of these college students go to a school that admits at least 3/4 of its applicants. Their thesis is these statistics reveal a simple fact about affirmative action in higher education, which is it mattered very little for the majority of American college students. Their argument being these schools aren't really selective anyway. Down at the very bottom, I was shocked to find some huge schools with pretty big reputations, like you've heard of University of Texas.
Yeah.
University of Texas at Arlington. We're not talking about the law school. We're talking about the undergrad. University of Texas, Arlington, 30,000 students with an admission rate of 93%. Cal State University, Sacramento, 30,000 students with an admit rate of 94%. University of Utah, 30,000 students, admit rate 95%. Brigham Young University, 40,000 students, admit rate of greater than 95%. Liberty University,
59%, right? For BYU.
95%. Oh, wait, there's a Brigham Young University in Idaho.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I didn't even know that existed with 40,000 students. Holy
40,000.
shit. Yeah,
wow.
in Idaho, 40,000 students with an admit rate of greater than 95%. Liberty University. Is that not a Trump affiliated school?
I don't know if it's Trump affiliated, but it's something about it. I don't know.
50,000 students with an admit rate of greater than 95%. Georgia State, 30,000 students with an admit rate of 95%. Anyway, click this graphic or click this article and just look at the graphic. I think you will blow yourself away to just realize that college for most people just isn't exclusive anyway. And if it's not exclusive anyway, then this whole hysteria about the end of affirmative action, it's like, well, it wasn't really making much of a difference for the vast majority of all college applicants. So it's, is it going to affect some people? Yeah. But is it going to affect, it's just, I don't know. It's not the sky is falling type of thing that everyone always makes every news item out to be.
Well, this is interesting. I'm curious what you think of this sentence right here. This is the second paragraph in their article. It says, yes, and this is similar to what you were just saying, the decision will likely dramatically reduce the racial diversity of incoming classes at highly selective institutions like Harvard, Stanford, and the University of North Carolina. My reaction to that, maybe it's just LSAT logical reasoning, experience or something, but the decision will likely dramatically reduce the racial diversity. It seems to me to fail to take into account the very likely moves that these schools are going to immediately implement to try to maintain some sort of diversity.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're predicting that it will likely dramatically reduce the racial diversity of incoming classes, but we won't know until next fall or later than that, actually. Like once the schools actually release or somebody does a study of diversity at these schools, we won't know what the effect is. Yeah. And it does make it clear though that like, okay, flip it. If affirmative action really was discriminating against whites and Asians, which that's kind of the thesis, right? I mean, that's why they overturned it, is because they're like, well, this isn't fair to people who have different colored skin.
Yep.
Okay. That seems like a kind of a stupid analysis to me. But if that's what they're really doing here, okay, so let's grant them, like now this is LSAT logical reasoning mode, right? Where we grant people their premises.
Sure.
So I'll grant you that, yeah, whites and Asians were getting hurt by affirmative action. But what does that really look like for any given applicant? What it means is you didn't get into Cornell with its 9% admit rate. Like everyone is already an edge case at Cornell, and because it's so selective. So you didn't get in, white or Asian person, because they let in a Black or Latino person, according to your thesis that affirmative action is bad and it hurts these white and Asian people. Well, what do they do? Okay, so they don't get into Cornell, but they also applied to 15 other schools, and they end up going to the University of Southern California, which has a 13% admission rate, or Georgetown, which has a 12% admission rate, or Berkeley, which has a 14% admission rate, and so on, right? Like there's so many schools. They're multiplying, Ben. They're multiplying and they're expanding. It looks really like cancer when I look at this, especially because they made the bubbles like kind of pink.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, all right. So they didn't get into the elitist of elite halls, but presumably there's going to be another school that's just right there that like, yeah, maybe it's not your dream number one school, but there's so many of these schools and they're really not that selective. And you're going to get out of college what you put into it anyway. So yeah, what I'm saying then to, the whites and Asians who were pissed about this, it's like, get over it. It's like it's not like you're not going to go to college. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I mean, whether it's fair or not fair, that's a very hard word to define anyway. But because it just depends on what you want to focus on, right? If you want to hyper focus in on that selection process, you might say, hey, this is unfair. But if you step back a little bit, is it still unfair? If you step back even further, is it unfair? It's a hard question to answer. But what I'm seeing here, and I think this is kind of what you're saying by looking at this cancerous graph, is that we have tons and tons and tons of schools with lots and lots and lots of people going to them. And why do we have so many schools? Well, because in my opinion, the federal government has pumped trillions of dollars into this industry. And this is the natural.
I would love to see what this graphic would have looked like with, before our student loan system.
Yeah.
Show me this graphic from 1975. I would love to see what it looks like, because my hypothesis is fewer schools, smaller schools, more selective.
Yep.
So this, the fact that they like opened this spigot of just unlimited supply to these federal dollars, which, to me, it looks more bad than good, Because I think what it does is it makes the typical person, right? Like, let's scroll down to the point where the majority of students actually go to these colleges. And now what we're looking at is Louisiana State University with 30,000 students with a 71% admission rate. And you've got like kids who they think it's so prestigious to get into this school that they're going to borrow tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go get something that they don't really know what they're getting. If there's a kid in your life who's about to go to school, I would encourage you to ask them what the admission rate is of the school that they're about to go to. Just see if they know.
Yeah.
Because my hypothesis is they don't know.
Well, and then combine that with the graduation rate. So I was just looking at a school the other day that had a high admission rate. I think it was like 95%. Graduation was 43%. Yet the tuition, like all these tuitions seem about the same. That's what's wild. I mean, there is a huge variation, but at the same time, it's crazy to me that a school that has a huge admissions rate, they accept almost everyone, but they graduate fewer than half, should be a cheap school. But no, they're charging the same prices you see everywhere, where you're paying $25,000 cost of attendance for residents, $45,000 to $50,000 for non-residents. So the problem with this graph, in my mind, is not so much that it's big, because educating more people seems like a good thing. More people just getting further education seems good. It's the cost that these schools are willing to charge, which blows my mind. It makes it ridiculous. And they're the ones who are benefiting from these federal dollars.
It looks to me like, I mean, like, okay, so it works out. I guess it works out better for the people who do get a degree, right? There's all these studies that show that having a degree is better than not having a degree.
True, but they almost always focus on averages, and that necessarily means you have people who are making astronomically more than they invested.
Yeah, true.
Which also means that there are a bunch of people who are now in a lifetime of debt.
True. Yeah. And what about the people who don't even get that degree? I mean, they're probably like not even included in the study.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
They're not studying people who went to some college. They're studying college. It's like, well, these are college graduates.
Yeah. And, very fair point.
Which also is a biased sample, because the people who have the stick-to-itiveness to do a 4 or 5 year degree and jump through all those hoops are just going to be better at jumping through the rest of life's hoops. And when you start considering the people who don't graduate, the people who go there for a year, 2, 3, never graduate, no refund. I mean, it really starts to look like a fraud. I mean, you're and the people are so fucking susceptible too, because 20-year-olds are idiots. I'm sorry if you're a 20-year-old listening to this podcast, but you don't have life experience. You don't have wisdom. You're a teenager in my mind, and you just haven't yet, you don't know what's important in life. You don't know what's important to you. You haven't yet really learned what you want to do with yourself. And you're just blithely cruising off to, Colorado State University in Fort Collins with 20,000 students and a 90% admission rate, and paying Harvard prices to go to very mundane schools that I don't know, what are you really going to, I will promise you that unless you put a lot into it, you're just not going to get out of it. It's not magic.
No, it's not magic.
Okay. Enough of my opinion about that. Check out, I want to know what you think about it though. I mean, I would really love to hear from not you, Ben. I know what you think about it. I want to hear from our listeners. Please email us, help@thinkinglsat.com, or actually go to our website, thinkinglsat.com, and, leave us a comment, ask us a question, because we want to continue having this discussion, but we need to know what you guys think about it.
I said, because I have one more comment I wanted to make, which is, so we're looking at admission rates, right? And we're saying, wow, for the vast majority of schools, admissions rates are 70% or higher. Also want to look at graduation rates, because although what happens on average in your school doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen to you, especially if you go in there with your eyes wide open, but you got to be careful, right? The other thing I want to talk about is that cost of attendance is almost always estimated as a 4-year. Well, they give you the cost of attendance per year. But most people, what they do is they take that number and they multiply it by 4. But the vast, vast majority of schools, and I think the U.S. Department of Education, they don't report graduation rates on the basis of 4 years. They report it on the basis of 6. So to me, that's a very explicit, although subtle on some level, acknowledgement that they don't anticipate most people or the vast majority of people to finish their degree within 4 years, which means, yeah, you can argue with somebody, is that school $22,000 per year or is that $25,000 per year? But if going to that school is going to increase your likelihood of graduating in 5 years or 6 years, that's where your costs are going to balloon exponentially. Anyways, enough of that.
Yeah. There's another graphic in this article. I scrolled down a little bit further, and the headline of the graphic is "Few Black and Hispanic Students Attend Selective Colleges." So it's got college students. It's got them organized by how selective the college is. On the left, it's colleges that admit less than 25% of the applicants, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75%. And on the right, it's 75% or more. And it's got breakdown by Asian, Black, Hispanic, white, where people actually go. And it does show that Asian students are already much more likely to attend selective schools. So, like the argument that individual Asian students are being hurt by these affirmative action programs, Black and Hispanic people are being helped by at the expense of these Asians. Well, okay, except that the fact is that, even under the previous regime of affirmative action, Asians were already wildly overrepresented. So, if you're any one individual Asian or white plaintiff, then I guess you can make the case that, hey, it's not fair that Harvard's considering race when they do the final cut, and I might get cut because I'm Asian. But like systematically, it just really doesn't appear as if it's been hurting Asians broadly all that much. And the previous
their counter would be that, hey, it would be higher.
No,
right?
I get it. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like granted. And so what? I mean, if you want to know my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Should elite schools try to be racially diverse? Yes, I do think that they should. I think it's silly for them not to be. Like it just doesn't seem just to me that they wouldn't try to. I mean, like the Civil War was not that long ago, right? Slavery and Jim Crow and all that was like really recent. Martin Luther King was in the 50s. You don't want to do, or 60s. You don't want to do any kind of like trying to balance at all. Well, the Supreme Court has spoken, so I guess not.
I think they will continue to try, right? Just through different means.
Right. No, I mean, the schools have already like put out opinions of, hey, here's what we're going to do. And right. So put that information in your put it in your personal statement, talk about your experience, or put it in your diversity statement or whatever, talk about your experience. The schools are going to still be able to use that. They're just going to have to change some of these procedures that were so like egregiously focused on. I mean, it was kind of gross, right? When we read the Harvard, how their whole LOP list and everything, how that all worked, which was on the last episode. It was on LSAT Demon Daily, and it was on the last episode of Thinking LSAT. If you want to hear that whole discussion. But the fact that they're like using race as one of the main pillars of who's going to get cut at the end is like, it just felt really gross. So I guess I'm hopeful that the schools are going to find ways of achieving racial diversity, or, they already haven't been doing that great of a job, but they're going to try, to continue doing what they've been doing, just without like explicitly saying what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Well, let us know what you think.
Yeah,
This
please.
next email is from Anthony.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Subject: LSAC replacing capitalized words with lowercase bold ? Hi, Ben and Nathan, longtime listener, first time writer. I am hearing rumors that as soon as the August 2023 exam, LSAC will be replacing capitalized words like cannot and accept with lowercase bold. Do you have any more information on these changes? Why is LSAC suddenly making these changes? Are there additional aesthetic changes coming soon? Are there exams where we could sample these updated aesthetics? Thank you. All the best. Anthony, a very concerned LSAT Demon student. One, Anthony, don't worry about it, dude. What you're concerned about the wrong stuff here. Whether the word says cannot in all in all caps, or whether the word says cannot in lowercase but bold, if you read it carefully, you're going to get it either way. I mean, they're trying to make it stand out. So they're changing from one way of making it stand out to a different way of making it stand out.
And I think the bold is actually going to stand out more.
Well, yeah, because I'll tell you, Anthony, my experience as a classroom teacher, a Zoom classroom teacher, I do this thing where I have my students, I share my screen so that they see an LSAT question and they can't answer it. They can't click an answer. They can't find out whether they're right or wrong. They have to just contemplate the question. And I ask them to send me in the Zoom chat privately, send me their answer so that I can see everyone's answer coming at me in the chat. And on most questions, I see my students get it. And so I see a long string of the same answer. Every once in a while, we'll do a tougher question where there'll be two answers. Lots of A's, lots of D's. And I go, okay, so there was a tricky wrong answer there. Obviously, we'll have something to discuss there for the people who are falling into that trap. On other questions, the answers will be a fucking rainbow. The answers come in like D, A, E, C, B. What? You guys are choosing all of the answers. How is that possible? And then greater than 50% of the time, I glance at the question and I see that it has one of these cannot or accept or least, or there's a couple other of those words in all in all caps in the question. I learned that I could predict whether that was there by the spectrum of answers that I was getting. And what do I infer from that? I infer that the caps weren't working. They don't seem to be doing what they claim to be doing, right? That they're trying to emphasize cannot or least or not or whatever, except is probably the main one, right? The most common.
That's the most common,
yeah,
for sure.
They're trying to emphasize that except, but your eye, for whatever reason, I've noticed it with my students hundreds of times now, they're not seeing it. And then as soon as I start discussing the question and I tell them, here's why this is wrong, then I see people chiming in the chat. Oh, I missed the accept.
Well,
anyway.
No, I mean, to prove your point even further, I don't know if it's proven, but to support it even further, right? People, they don't read. Once you know a word, you don't read it by looking at each of the individual letters. You look at the shape of the word.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you do all caps, what you're doing is you're deviating from that normal shape.
Yep.
And when words are all caps, they take on a shape that's very similar to other words that have all caps.
Yeah.
So it becomes a block. And so it's not surprising that on some level, a lot of people miss that.
There's a reason why books don't come in all caps, right? There's a reason why we don't write our emails or websites in all caps. And it's not just because it looks like shouting. It's because it's harder to read.
It's harder to read. It's ironic too, because sometimes contracts, right? The most important clause is put in all caps.
Right. Yeah.
In an attempt to make it stick out. And it's like, yeah, you stupid attorneys, that's going to make it harder to read. Or maybe they're doing that on purpose. But
when I have to edit, so like I took over managing this stupid amateur, men's golf club that I am part of.
Yeah.
We play these tournaments, and I took over and I run all the tournaments now. And I have to use their recycled shit from last year, like emails and web pages and all this stuff that they've been using to administer these tournaments. And of course, I go through and edit the shit out of everything before I send it out.
Yeah.
But one of the most common edits that I'm making is taking out shit that is written in all caps, all these things that they've done to try to emphasize it. And it's like, nah, you're de-emphasizing by doing that. You're just not, it's not having the effect that you think it's having. So apparently LSAC has come to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
Because they actually are, in fact, on the August exam. Is that right? I think it's August and going forward.
Yes, that is correct. The next official LSAT.
Yeah. Yep. So this is officially a change now that on the next and for the foreseeable future, until they change it again, there will not be any more of this all caps to emphasize a word. They should have just done nothing. I mean, in my opinion, they should have done nothing to emphasize the word. But what they're doing instead is now they're going to use bold. So they're changing from all caps to bold.
Lowercase bold. Yeah.
Lowercase bold. Yeah.
And they said the purpose is to make the LSAT more accessible to test takers with disabilities who need assistive technology, such as a screen reader. So that's their stated.
Sorry, I don't want to be a dick about that. It's just like, I was hoping that they were making it for like the bigger reason, which is it wasn't good in the first place. Like it just doesn't help people. I mean, it's anecdotal. It's anecdotal. But I repeated the experiment enough times to know that it was real. Like the caps was making it harder to read, not just for people with accommodations, but for everybody.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a good change.
It's a good change. They go on to say that to help test takers familiarize themselves with the new format, we will make 9 Law Hub practice tests available that follow the bold convention.
Okay.
That's nice. But,
that's nice. But I feel like we could do one better.
Yeah. In the Demon, we have updated all the all caps questions to now be lowercase bold for every test.
So we already did it for all of our tests. Anthony, you got nothing to worry about. You should be seeing it in the Demon. In fact, I read a classroom report just the other day that said, hey, we ran across one of these accept questions in class tonight. Yep. And the change had already been made. So Demon students are already preparing for the new test.
That is correct.
Yes. Now, are there other aesthetic changes coming soon? I don't think we have any idea.
Nope, we don't know.
The thing we can promise you is that as soon as we hear from LSAC that they're making changes like that, then yeah, we're going to go ahead and change it. Not just for 9 of our tests like they did on Law Hub, but we're going to change it for all of our tests so that we make sure that our students are doing the most accurate prep they possibly can.
Cool.
Do you want to talk about how to do accept questions since we were talking about accept questions?
Yeah, we might as well. The one piece of advice that I tend to give people when they seem to struggle with accept questions is I will answer the question by ignoring the word accept and just crossing out any answer that is correct. And I say correct in air quotes because, like, let's say, for example, it says each of the following strengthens the argument except.
Yep.
I will just be like, okay, if I see an answer that strengthens, then I'll cross that out.
Right. It's like there are 4 correct answers and 1 wrong answer.
Yep.
Instead of 1 correct answer and 4 wrong answers.
That's
so you just
correct.
like choose. It's one that's asking you to choose the wrong answer.
Yep.
I agree. That totally works. Another thing another just note is that the wrong answers there, right, which are right answers, you're not picking it because it does answer the question. If it's an accept question, each of the following strengthens except. The 4 strengtheners, it's critical that you recognize that they don't have to be great strengtheners.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just that the right answer, the one that you're supposed to pick, doesn't strengthen at all or actually weakens the argument.
And that's critical because a lot of people, when they first start studying, right, they're looking for the answer that weakens. And it's like, no, you've gone too far. The correct answer could just do nothing.
Right. Well, I mean, that would be a hard strengthen accept if the correct answer is just irrelevant.
Yeah.
On easier strengthen accepts, then yeah, you might find one answer that just clearly weakens the argument. There might be one that goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But it could just be something that's irrelevant as well. The 4 right answers, though, you should be able to see how they help the argument from a little to a lot.
Yep.
And so it's like you kind of got to lower your. I find that if I'm doing your method, right, of like there's going to be 4 right answers and 1 wrong answer, and that's the one I'm going to pick because this is an accept question.
Yeah,
that works. If you're doing it that way, you just need to recognize that the right answers, the ones that you're not going to pick, they don't have to be great because there's going to be 4 of them.
Yep.
It's just that the wrong answer, the one that you are going to pick for that accept question, is like really, really bad. Like frequently it will hurt the argument. Other times it'll just be a whiff. So but the 4 that you're not picking, like they don't have to be a sufficient assumption of the argument. They do not have to prove the author's conclusion on a strengthen accept. They just help it at all. And then the correct answer is the one that does not help it at all. While we're here, I guess it might be useful. We're already kind of discussing it anyway, but if it says each one of the following must be true except, or on logical reasoning, it would probably say each of the following can be properly inferred from the statement above, except. If it says that, then remember there are 4 that must be true.
Must be true. Yep.
And you've got to be able to translate that into, okay, so what does the one, like what is the characteristics of the one? There's 4 that must be true. So there's 1 that does not have to be true. So what does it mean to not have to be true?
It still could be true. It just doesn't.
Could be true.
To be. Yeah.
But that's also not going to make it correct. Just because it could be true doesn't make it correct. The one correct answer, if there are 4 that must be true, then there's 1 that could be false.
False. Yep.
And you should be able to pretty fluidly go back and forth. So like, what if I said to you, Ben, each of the following undermines the argument except. So what's that analysis look like?
Undermines except. So that means 4 answers are going to weaken the argument on some level. And then the correct answer is either going to do nothing or strengthen.
Yeah, it's the one that does not weaken, which could strengthen or just includes irrelevant. Okay, what if it said each of the following could be false except?
Okay, so could be false except. So 4 of the answers could be false. They don't have to be false, but they could be, which means the correct answer is something that must be true.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of could be false.
Yeah. If it can't be false, then it has to be true. It's all really common sense. I mean, it's not like this is not rocket science at all. This is just what it is it's reading it really carefully, understanding what they're asking you, and then thinking about it. Okay. Each of the following could be true except. Okay. So 4 of them could be true.
Yep.
1 of them cannot be true. Oh, which one must be false?
Yep.
Right. All of the questions, all of them that use except or not, cannot, or whatever these other words are, they can all be rephrased. Like you can reverse it.
Yeah, you don't have to leave it as an accept question. You could just translate it into a direct question.
Yeah.
But this is, so as a test taker, you need to be able to translate these things and get good at that. But if you, for whatever reason in the moment can't, that's why it's okay to just say, okay, it asked me for each of the following could be false except. So, okay, I can't translate it for some reason. Let me just cross out anything that could be false and just keep it direct. Like you can control this test. You can get there multiple ways, right? It's the same with getting a question wrong. There's multiple steps. There's multiple ways to get to the correct answer. You can cross out 4 answers and just pick whatever's left, or you can figure out why the correct answer is correct. And anyways, that's what you want to get good at, all those different skills.
Thank you, Anthony. Hey, we had a score release date in between our last 2 episodes. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but producer Eric, LSAT Demon teacher Eric, summarized some of the success stories that came in. You want to read through these really quick?
Sure. T, so I don't know who T is, but T went from a 147 diagnostic to a 171 on their 3rd attempt.
24-point improvement.
Yeah. Special shout out to Brandon, who helped with my logic games and approach to the test.
That's a quote from T. Yeah.
Yeah. Jack went from a 156 diagnostic to a 180. Shit. Okay. Plateaued at 165 for months, then switched to LSAT Demon and learned to love the LSAT. That's wild.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah. Adam scored a 174. Reading comp was his worst section, but he improved once he learned that slower is faster. Anna scored a mother effing, that's what she wrote. Scored a mother effing 180.
Pretty sure she wrote motherfucking. Yeah, but
Eric edited that?
Well, maybe not. Anyway.
We don't seem to hold back elsewhere. Yeah. She says, Ben, the way you break down questions to the very basics helped me to not feel stupid when grasping the fundamentals. Nathan, your no bullshit approach to LR has made me laugh so many times and helped me not be intimidated by the test.
Oh, thanks. It's fun. It's easy. I mean, the test, it makes sense. You got to learn to make sense of it. And we can help people learn to make sense of it. That's why people are getting these 20-point improvements.
Yeah. Lyndon went from a 152 diagnostic to a 173 after over 2 years of study.
Wow.
Huh. Plans to take the August test as a victory lap. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's still some points that you could get there. So that's great.
Get greedy. I mean, look, Jack went from a 156 to a 180. Lyndon from a 172 to a 173. So Jack improved a little, well, by 1 point more, I guess. Point is, if you start out in the 150s, I think 170s at a minimum is what you should be trying for.
Yeah.
And if you've already made it to 173, there's just no reason not to get greedy and take it again. Law schools are only going to care about your highest score. So, and it's not a victory lap as so much as it is just you think you're a good bet to get a couple points higher. And if you get a couple points higher, then yeah, it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks for sharing these, Eric. We got 2 180s in the air. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a highly biased choice of people, right? Because people aren't writing in probably if they didn't do as well or they don't want to share that. But we'd love to hear from you. We can try to figure out what went wrong and make things go better. So,
okay. Ike went from a 157 to a 168. That's 11-point improvement. It says, hi, Ben and Nathan. I had a 157 cold diagnostic and I scored a 168 on the June LSAT. I'm disappointed with the score because my 5-test average is a 174. Yeah, okay. So you can be disappointed in that, but that's well within a acceptable range. I mean, that's not crazy deviation out of your range. You might have, did you do something differently on the day of the official test? If you did, stop doing that. You shouldn't be doing anything different on the day of the test than you're doing on your practice tests. Because if you do, you're going to get different results.
This is the funny thing, right? So in terms of admissions, it's a wildly different score, having a 168 versus a 174.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not a wildly different score.
No.
It's well within your range of possibility. This is why it's so important to take the test multiple times, because it's very easy to swing this much, but that much of a swing in terms of your application is a big deal.
Yeah. All right. This next line, I didn't want to take the June test because I tend to bomb reading comp.
Huh? What? What does that have to do with the June test?
Ike took it, got a 168, but didn't want to take it because Ike knows that he's not solid on reading comp. What would your advice be?
Well, the 5 test average is 174. I mean, I still think it was okay for Ike to take it. Are you saying that you would advise Ike not to take it?
I mean, generally, if you don't want to take the test, you probably should not take the test. Right? Like Ike went into this knowing that he was not where he wanted to be. So that's a pretty good argument for pushing it. You know, like, I don't know who forced you into this, your parents, or I don't know what happened, but like, I didn't force you to take the test. Ben didn't force you to take the test. Who forced you to take this test?
Fair enough. Yeah. If you're willing to go, if you don't want to take it, you're willing to do more work to get to where you want to be, then yeah, don't take it. I also don't have a problem with someone who's like, hey, I'm averaging 174. Should I take it? I don't think you could go wrong also.
Yeah. And you didn't go wrong. That's what's critical to point out here, Ike, is that like, it's not a tragic mistake. It's just one of your 5 attempts. Yep. And that attempt did not get really close to your average. And yeah, take it again. Eventually you're going to get at or above your average, and that'll be great. But in the meantime, get better at reading comp. Anyway, sure. Ike continues, my LG and LR scores are close to perfect, and I will score anywhere from -1 to -8 on reading comp. Where do I go from here? My reading comp scores have gotten better, and my worst section since the test was a -5. However, I am still choosing wrong answers. If I only attempt 3 passages, I eliminate the potential to score in the high 170s. But if I attempt 4, then I am practicing bad form. All right. What's your advice for Ike?
Well, I think Ike already knows, right? The key here isn't to practice bad form. The key here is to practice good form with 3 passages, then eventually 3 1/4. Just let yourself naturally get better. You're facing the reality you need more time.
I think Ike is setting out a false dichotomy here between 3 passages and 4 passages. As Ben points out, what about 3-point-something passages?
Yep.
Like if you ace 3 passages and then you do half of the last passage, you're already going to be better than a -5 if you just are getting them all right, which you should be getting them all right. I mean, you're talking about elite scoring here. You're averaging 174. That's a 99th percentile score. So you're averaging in the 99th percentile. Well, the way you do that is you got to get them all right. I mean, you just can't miss questions. So you've got to commit yourself to slowing down, getting them right. And if that means that you don't finish the 4th passage, that's fine. You just can't be missing questions along the way. Go ahead.
It also means you might not even start the first question in the 4th passage at first.
Which is also fine because you do need to practice the good form. Yeah.
So, well, what I mean by that is that maybe Ike's doing 3 passages, has 2 minutes, 3 minutes left and saying, oh, I don't have time to even get to the first question. So I'm done. I'm going to go back and review previous questions. No. Read the passage, understand it as if you're about to answer these questions. Your time will end, and then answer the questions in blind review.
Yeah, that would be a good way to practice it. Yeah. You just got to ignore the clock, whatever you're doing, Ike. I hope that when you start your timed practice sections, when you're doing a practice test, when you're doing a practice section, and when you're doing the official test, the first move, remember, is as soon as that section starts, you turn off the clock.
Yep.
And then you're peacefully going to just work on these questions one at a time, read the passage carefully, answer the questions correctly. And you just got to stay with that good form. Eventually, you'll start getting to 3 passages plus 1 question on the next passage. And then it'll be 3 passages plus 2 questions on the next passage. And if you do it that way, then every question you get to, each additional question that you get to, you actually get paid for it. Because as you have noticed, Ike, what happens when you try to skim all 4 passages is you end up missing 8 of the questions anyway. So now you're missing more than a full passage worth of questions. because you're trying to do 4 passages and you should just slow down.
And that's focusing on the score. But worse than that, you're developing bad form.
Yeah. It's not going to be, it's not setting yourself up for future success to do it that way, which Ike seems to recognize. Take the test again, Ike. Don't worry about your 168 on record. Who cares? You'll end up in the 170s eventually. I am quite confident. You just need to keep practicing.
Yeah.
All right. Steven?
This next email is from Steven. The subject is doing every single logic game. Greetings, Ben and Nathan. I had proctor issues during my June LSAT, and I was granted a retake. On the retake, I encountered a circle game where I had to place 8 people around a table. I have always struggled with circle games.
Oh, God.
So when I saw it, I panicked.
Steven, if I can just interrupt, your problem here is that you're thinking about the categories too much. You're trying to put square pegs into round holes. You know, what do you mean I have always struggled with circle games?
There's like 2.
There's 2 or 3 maybe, and at least one of them. I mean, the most recent one, you didn't even need to solve it in a circle. You could just as easily have solved it in a straight line. So, you know, I don't know where you learned this, but this hyper focus on putting games into types is actually holding you back. You're like, you saw the circle game and you immediately went, I suck at circle games. And then, yeah, you sucked at that game because you set yourself up for failure. But instead, you need to be looking at each new game and going, you know what? They are giving me all the information that I need to answer each one of these questions perfectly. They always do. They never have not. And with no prior prep, if you had unlimited time, you would be able to solve this puzzle easily. You would be able to get every question correct. So it's like, I can tell right away that you admit you panicked. And I think it's because of your obsessive focus on types. Go ahead, Ben.
He continues. When I got my score back, I was really disappointed to see I scored a 161, 1 point below what I need for a full ride. This hurt even more because I knew I probably dropped 3 to 4 questions on the circle game. I score -0 on most game sections, but whenever I saw circle games in drilling, I skipped it. Whoa!
The fuck? What?
Because I was afraid of them. That's literally the opposite of what you need to do. If you're bad at circle games, you need to be going after them and then redoing them and then asking questions about them.
I wonder if the algorithm like kept giving him those games because it's like, yeah, you suck at these. Why don't you do this one? I mean, you would probably skipped the same circle game 5 times.
Yeah, there's not that
many of them. What are you doing? Dude, that's just burying your head in the sand. I mean, you know this, Steven, but anyway, thank you for admitting that in your email to us. But yeah, like, I skipped the stuff that I was bad at. And then on the official test, I was bad at that.
Yeah.
You know, all right.
What's going on here? Okay, Steven continues. I read on an unnamed test company's website that circle games only appeared on 1.5% of tests and made the stupid assumption that I didn't have to practice it.
Yep.
This company, by the way, is obsessed with stats.
Yeah.
They need to stop.
Yeah.
It's a disservice.
Yeah.
First, I'm sorry. That's Steven. Steven is saying this. First, I'm sorry, and I vow to never check another test prep site again.
All right.
Second, should I practice all hybrid games to prevent disaster, or should I do all games as if they were the same, or some other third option?
No, it's the second one. Do all games as if they were the same. I mean, hybrid games is the worst. Like whenever I see somebody categorize a game as hybrid, that's when I know that they don't know what they're talking about in LSAT. Like I don't buy you as an LSAT teacher if you think hybrid games is a thing, because to the extent that it is a thing, it's a very, very big thing. Like 75% of all games, I think, would most accurately be called hybrid games, because it's like, well, hey, it's a slightly new puzzle. It's slightly different than before. Remember those games, Ben, that are like put 6 things in order, but there's 2 things on Saturday? Or put these things in order, but there's 2 things on Monday. Well, I think that it's appropriate to call that a hybrid game because it is something different, right? You're putting things in order, but you're also kind of grouping them on Monday or Friday or whatever it is.
Yep.
And it's like, you can make your life so much simpler if you just decide there's really one type of game, which is it's a perfectly solvable puzzle. The game has what would be referred to as perfect information, where all of the information is just sitting there right on the page. And they're asking you questions that can be answered with certainty from the information on the page. And you getting all caught up in circular games and hybrid games and these other types of games, it's just necessarily neglecting the reality of the test, which is you can't just take this magic formula, like here's how to do this type of game, and apply that formula to this type of game. It doesn't work that way. You have to roll with the punches. You have to be flexible and go, okay, what are we doing now? Because what we're really doing, dude, you were arranging 8 people at a dinner party. It's not that fucking hard. If it was 8 of your friends, the game that he's thinking of might be the 4 couples one, or, well, who knows what he's looking at on a retake of a modern test. I don't know what he's looking at, but I guarantee that it's not actually hard. Unless you freak yourself out on it. If you freak yourself out on it, then it's going to be difficult. But if you just kind of calm down and roll with the punches, like, what are you asking me? Okay. What information have you given me? And it's simple rules about who can sit next to who. And then you just, I don't know, you just figure it out. But yeah, if you're skipping all of those games while you're doing your drilling, then you're just doing absolutely the wrong thing.
I mean, I think people might be somewhat confused because hybrid is a name that's used in the Demon. It's used in the way that you just said. It's referring to anything that's beyond just simple ordering or grouping.
So then it's like many, many, many games. It's like half of our games. I mean, again, for my money, if I forgot that we even I never look at the the categorization of the games.
Yeah.
I never look at it. And for my money, I think we should de-emphasize that as much as possible in the Demon. I just don't think we should be talking about that. I think it's leading people the wrong direction. They're analyzing. It shouldn't be the first thing that people are thinking about. You shouldn't be like immediately starting to put square pegs into round holes. And I think that's what talking about game types does. So again, my vote, get rid of it. Okay. Want to talk to Parker?
Yeah. The subject is, what does for free mean? I'm applying to law school, hoping to just go where I live. Is that Tucson, Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they have a C in there? It's interesting.
Well, why isn't it SC? If it was SC, then it would make sense. But when it's TUCX or TUCS, Tucson. Yeah, I don't know. My guess is probably a Native American thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hoping to just go where I live, Tucson, Arizona, because they are known to have generous funding and I don't want to leave my friends or my affordable rent. Okay.
What? I don't know. Like, that to me doesn't seem like the greatest analysis. There are so many schools that are known to give generous funding.
Yeah.
I mean, go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships and you will see that, there are so many law schools beyond the University of Arizona that give full rides. So that's available elsewhere. As far as your friends and your affordable rent, there are lots of places where you can get affordable rent. As far as your friends are concerned, you're going to have to pick. Do you want to be a lawyer, or do you want to live a life that is focused on your friends? I just don't think that that's like a serious lawyer. I don't know. I'm not buying that you're gonna, at the very least, I think you should apply broadly. I think you should really expand your horizons here and consider the possibility of moving away from your pals, because you're going to just be studying for 3 years anyway. I mean, it's not like, I don't know, you're going to be skipping a lot of barbecues.
Sure. It certainly could be a factor in favor of UA
Yeah. But when I
on
see,
some level, but like the only factor, the main factor,
well, but
yeah.
when I see somebody giving me 3 reasons right off the bat,
Yeah.
it's like you've already decided. It's, you know, I have a feeling that laziness could play a role here, where it's like that's the easy option. It's just I could default to this. And if I default to this, then I don't have to think about it. But we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. We're talking about potentially millions of dollars when we talk about your entire law career. This is such a huge issue that you need to make this decision you have to make the decision for your career, right? None of these things are about your career. The funding matters a lot. Don't get me wrong. The scholarships matter a lot because that is related to your career. Like, how much debt do I have? That's going to impact the choices that I'm able to make in my career. But the friends, and especially the affordable rent, is like, well, now it really feels like you made up your mind and you're piling in with all the reasons why that's a good decision instead of actually analyzing the choice that you have in front of you.
Yeah. Parker continues. Everyone I know attending Arizona has had a full ride in tuition, but took out loans to live on.
I think you might have skipped the question before that. It says, one question I've had is, what is the high end that I can expect in terms of an offer? Then it goes on to say, everyone I know at UA has a full ride.
So high end would include a full tuition scholarship plus a stipend.
Yep. Some schools give generous stipends. We've heard of University of Michigan, for example, giving full tuition scholarship plus a $10,000 stipend.
Yep.
For people who, really highly qualified applicants who turn down Harvard probably to go to Michigan for full ride plus 10 grand. That's just what Michigan has to do in order to get people there instead of Harvard.
Yeah.
UA is much lower down on the law school ranking hierarchy. And so they're given full rides. Sounds like they're given lots of full rides. Do they give stipends? I don't know. Oh, yeah. But anyway, Parker continues.
I looked up some scholarship information and found that many applicants receive tuition plus, and that's in quotes. I'm definitely not planning to accept anything less than full tuition. Most other students I've talked to have gotten some amount of extra scholarship money, but again, have still taken out a lot of loans to live on. I'm prepared to do that. The most I've heard of someone getting The most I've heard of is someone getting an extra $10K total for all 3 years as a living stipend. I'm not clear on what going for free means. Does it mean full tuition, or should I hope to get enough scholarship money to live on? Any examples of high-end offers to shoot for? Thanks. Yeah, when we say go to law school for free, we're referring to tuition. So there is still the cost of living, depending on whatever your situation is.
We also mean get yourself the best deal. I mean, don't pay for law school, which we say at the end of every show. It's a tagline, and it does, like, don't take it as gospel. Do not pay 1 penny for law school. What we really mean is get yourself the best possible deal. Educate yourself. Go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships, play around with our scholarship estimator. Click into the 509 reports. We linked the 509 report on the scholarship estimator. We link the 509 for every school. If you click into those 509s, you're going to see they break down the scholarships that they offer. So whatever school you're thinking about, look at, here's their median offer. Here's their 75th percentile offer. Here's the kinds of deals that people are getting at this school, and then decide for yourself where you want to go. But I hate it, Parker, that you seem focused on applying to this one school. And that's just a disaster. You have to apply to multiple schools, because if you apply to multiple schools, then you'll have multiple competing offers. And I get it that you don't want to move to somewhere expensive like Los Angeles, let's say. But if you get into UCLA and especially if you get a nice offer at UCLA, well, then comparing that offer to the offer that University of Arizona is giving you is going to give you that's how you're going to make your decision ultimately, is you're going to look at the actual offers on the table, and you're not going to know what those offers are until you apply.
Yeah. Producer Eric provided some interesting information here. Users on lsd.law report 3-year scholarships up to $93,000 for University of Arizona, which could cover tuition plus fees. Not really a stipend, says Eric. Nevertheless, their 509 says that 36% of their students get more than full.
Well, the thing that Eric might not be recognizing is that more than full sometimes pops up because people have any outside funding from any other source, including very frequently the military. So if the military is giving you any money, like let's say you have some $2,500 grant from the military, if University of Arizona gives you a full ride and the military gives you $250, then that's going to show up on the 509 as more than full.
Yeah, but this is a high number, right? So unless we think
36% of the students, well, what percentage of students are getting a full ride at UA is where I would start. And I think it's real high.
Full tuition is 15%. More than full is 36%.
Right. So, what that could mean is that they're giving, like they could admit a lot of military applicants.
They could, but that's a wild number, 36%.
Yeah. Or they could just be giving very small stipends.
Yeah. Eric speculates, I guess tacking on an extra 1.7K per year to cover fees counts as more than full.
I mean, I
that
think
could be some shady shit, right? Like you just say like, hey, our tuition is this and our fees are 1.7.
Yeah, but I doubt that they're gaming the 509 because people don't even know that these 509s exist. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the individual offer, right, that people are going to be looking at, people are really going to be making the decision. And so, I doubt that they're going, we're giving you more than a full tuition scholarship. They're just going to say, hey, here's your full tuition scholarship. And if there is a small stipend there, then there's a small stipend there. That's like, they're just trying to sweeten the deal a little bit. And it makes their 509 look like they give stipends when maybe they don't give giant stipends. I mean,
maybe it is for the marketing. Maybe they say, hey, we give you a full tuition scholarship. And by the way, we're also going to cover your fees, which is all just a joke, but it makes it sound like more of an offer than some other school that just offers a full tuition.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, you constantly get nonsense throw-ins, with everything you buy, expensive shit, but they're always going to like, oh, and here's also, you get this tote bag. And it's like, I don't give a fuck. But, it's like, it's just another thing to get you to make the expensive purchase in the first place.
Yeah. Yep.
Eric did do some research. He looked at lsd.law for Wash U, which is a famous scholarship law school. And on lsd.law, there are at least 15 users reporting offers of full rides plus $10,000 a year stipend, plus other goodies like a $1,500, quote, reimbursement for networking expenses.
That's interesting. So
that's a bar tab.
They're offering you $1,500 without offering it to you right away. They're expecting you to ask for the reimbursement.
Yep. Oh, of course. Yeah. No, you have to go to the conference or you have to go to the whatever and then reimburse your. Yeah. They're just planning on nobody ever accepting that.
Yeah.
The 10K stipend though, that's probably a check.
Yep.
So that's cool. Although I wonder how much of it gets eaten up by fees. And
another fair question.
Yeah. Anyway, Parker, the most important thing that I want to tell you is please apply broadly. As long as you apply broadly, you're not going to have anything to worry about. If you only apply to this one school, then you're going to be at their mercy and they can give you whatever offer they can give you. You can't plan in advance. You don't know what they're going to give you. But we do know probabilistically that if you apply to 15 schools that are in an appropriate range for you, you're going to get some nice offers out of that. And I'm sorry to break this to you, but for the beginning of your law career, you might have to move away from your friends. And it might be worth it to pay more in rent somewhere else. I mean, one thing about places that have high rents, they also tend to have high salaries. So like a lawyer in LA makes a lot more money than a lawyer in Tucson. So you get what you pay for, kind of. I mean, also LA is never 115 fucking degrees like it is in Tucson.
Yeah.
So like just, I don't know. I think it's a bad decision to be so small-minded. Like, I do want people to consider things like living expenses, but it pales in comparison to tuition. And it pales in comparison to like lawyer salaries. So just, Parker, please apply to double digits of schools, at least 10.
I agree 100%. I want to go back to Wash U really quick. I just checked their 509. They're not playing the fees game. Their fees are $700. That's on the low end.
Good for them. Wash U is high on my list of schools that I feel like are doing it right. Well, although then again, they're also like probably number one on my shit list because the scholarships are the problem, right? I mean, the system is broken because of the scholarships. Schools give scholarships to, it's like they're charging half of the people double. That's not really how it is, but on the extremes, that is what it looks like, where some people are paying $60,000 a year, which is just this totally fictional number.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so disconnected from the services that you're actually going to receive. And then meanwhile, there's all these other people who are paying zero or even getting a $10,000 a year stipend, So your $60,000 tuition at Wash U is like, well, 10,000 of it goes to this guy over here who got a really good LSAT. I didn't, but they did. So I'm going to pay them 10 grand per year. That's part of my 60.
Yep. So
and then the remainder down to 50. So 25 of it is for my education and 25 of it is for, that guy again. The guy who I gave a $10,000 check to, also I'm paying their tuition. And that's what's happening at most law schools.
Yep.
And that's the system that we hate and would like to break. That said, it's a prisoner's dilemma because for individual applicants, for individual students, if you can go to Wash U on one of those scholarships, you should.
It's also a prisoner's dilemma for the schools, right? Imagine Wash U just says, okay, we're just going to charge $25,000 for everybody, flat fee. Okay. Well, no one's going to go there anymore. I mean, people will, but a lot of people will just be like, all right, see you later. Like their most competitive.
Yeah. They lose all their most competitive applicants who just go to schools in the top 14.
Yep. For less than 25,000.
Right. Because the other schools are going to still be playing these scholarship games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This next email here is from Angelica. The subject is pacing.
Hi there. I'm currently studying for the LSAT and take the test this August. I'm currently struggling with the pacing for the sections. Uh-oh. I can already tell that you're worrying about the wrong thing. Something my teacher in my prep class has told me is to rank the games and reading passages or do the first/second pass for argument questions. Oh, dear God. Oh, God, this is bad.
First, second pass? What the hell does that mean?
Like go through the whole thing once and then go through the whole thing again.
Wow, yeah,
like
that's
skip
really
the hard
bad.
ones, I think is what they're saying. Like on the first pass, you do the ones you're good at. And then on the second pass, you start doing some of the harder ones. I can tell you right now, your prep class sucks. Like you should quit your prep class. Whatever it is, you should quit it. You should not be ranking the games. You should not be ranking the reading comprehension passages. You should be doing them in order. They generally get harder as you go deeper into the passage. You're wasting time trying to figure out the difficulty of stuff. Superficially, it might look like it's helping you, but like this is the type of thing that might help you improve by 4 points. And I don't want you to improve by 4 points. I want you to improve by 24 points. The way you improve by 24 points is you start actually understanding the questions. And this bullshit is not helping you understand the questions. This is like criminally bad advice. Whoever this is that's giving this to you, this is criminally bad advice.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I struggle with setting up the games. Yeah, no shit you do, because you're doing this stupid thing of like looking at all 4 games and ranking them in difficulty or ranking them in types of games that you like to do. And you're just not like, you're not doing the work, which is, hey, game 1, let's go. This game is probably the easiest game. If you can't solve this one, you probably can't solve the other ones. So let's get to work. They're just not teaching you the most important part, which is how to actually do it. Sorry, I'm agitated. Wow.
I mean, this is the problem that we always have with tips and tricks. They're easy to say, hey, pick D as your last answer in games. Pick E as your last answer in logical It's like becomes a memorization as opposed to simply, let's go back to the question you missed and let's unpack it. Let's understand it. That's challenging. It's challenging both for the student and it's challenging for the teacher because you really have to understand it. At the same time, it's the easiest path in the long run.
I struggle writing bottom lines quickly for reading.
Bottom lines.
Writing the bottom line. I don't know. They're some bullshit thing where they're having you summarize each passage in one sentence, like actually writing it down. Total waste of time. You're focusing on the wrong things. It's all these tips that are supposed to help you with speed. And instead, all they do is just confuse you. And, they just encourage you to skim and to half-ass it and to not really get it.
I think they must give the illusion of helping you with speed because you end up completing more content.
Right.
But completing more content poorly is not the goal here.
Yeah. Bad LSAT teachers focus on tips and tricks for speed.
Yep.
Good LSAT teachers focus on helping you understand the questions. That's all that an LSAT class should be. Here's a question. Want to make sure we all understand it.
Yep.
If they're not doing that, then they're not doing it right. I mean, they're just not doing it our way. And our results are vastly better than these other bullshit classes you're taking. This is probably Kaplan or Princeton Review because I think that those are still the two biggest LSAT prep classes, companies out there. Yeah. They are fucking terrible. They're not good. They hire teachers who score in the 160s.
Not unofficial tests, at least the last time I checked, but that was a while ago.
They hired me 2 decades ago before I even really started doing LSAT work. I went in there trying to get a job at Kaplan. This was Boston. I was trying to get a job teaching SAT for Kaplan. And they were like, well, we're full up on SAT teachers, but go in this back room, take an LSAT practice test by yourself. I think I might have timed myself. And then I handed them the results and they were like, yeah, you're hired. You're our LSAT teacher now. That's their hiring standards. And their methods are fucking garbage. Their methods are, How long did you last there? Not at all. I was doing other shit. I mean, I ended up going to business school after that. So it's like, I had a whole, other life. But I did their teacher training program. And I think I did some one-on-one tutoring. And then I was just like, I never taught in the classroom for Kaplan at all, but they wanted me to teach in the classroom. They were like, yeah, you're our guy. Like, wow, you scored a 165 on a practice test. Oh my God, you're a genius.
Yeah.
I should holler about Princeton Review's bullshit 7-point guarantee, that thing that they have. It's like, they're almost like telling on themselves with that 7-point guarantee. Cause it's like, if you do all of our arduous work, by the way, because you don't get the refund if you don't do all of our arduous shit and take the official test. And it's like, you have to do all these things in order to get this refund.
And ask for the refund within 15 days of the last attempted.
Yeah. Who knows all the hoops you have to jump through. And still the only thing that they're actually even promising is a 7-point improvement.
Yeah.
And if it does, what do you probably get retake the class or something. Oh God, it's such a tragedy. Angel, it's a sunk cost. You should quit this class. This class sucks. Like Angel says, I at times struggle to understand the very interesting arguments that are being made. Yeah, that's because your class is not teaching you how to understand the arguments. The class is teaching you about question types, and you're going to be good at some question types and you're going to be bad at other question types. And so your strategy is that you're going to do a first pass and then you're going to do where you do all the ones that you think you can answer. And then you do a second pass where you do the ones that you couldn't answer on the first time through. And it's like, all they're doing is acknowledging that they can't teach you how to understand the actual questions. All right, rant over. Do you have any advice for Angel?
Well, her last sentence here is each section is 35 minutes and I'm getting anxious and irritated with myself on not being quick enough. Any advice? You have the wrong goal. Your class has told you that that's the goal. That's not the goal. The goal is to get 5 of the first 5 questions in a section correct. Let's do that. Once
or
you can
one.
start, or one.
How about one?
Yeah.
How about get number 1 right, then move on
Yep.
to number 2 and get number
Yep.
2 right.
But what's really, I want to put that number out there because I want her to be okay with only doing even as few as 5 questions.
Yeah. Can you get the first 5 right? Because I mean, I promise you, like if you take all the time, let's say you took the entire 35 minutes to just answer the first 5, can you get them right? If you can get them right, then I'm kind of going to give you a internet high five. Like I'm going to go like, good job. Cause you got them.
Yep.
You solved them. You feel
Yep.
good about them, right? You got them right.
Yep.
You knew that they were right. Okay, great. If you can get 5, then can you get 10? But like the intermediate goal is 6.
6, yeah. 7. You have permission now to go to 6 questions. But
yeah.
That's the goal. And you have to change it because it has nothing to do with how many questions you did. It has everything to do with how well you did on the ones you attempted. And right now, you're hyper focused on how many questions you did, and you're never going to get better.
Yeah. I have a challenge for Angelica, or as she signs off, Angel B. I have a challenge for Angel B, which is next time you do a practice test, give yourself a hard limit that you're only going to attempt no more than, and less is okay, but you're going to attempt no more than the first 15 questions in the section. Just give it a shot.
Yeah.
Okay. So accept the fact that you're only going to get 2 out of the last 10 right on average, because you're going to randomly guess on those, right? So just put all B's, all C's, all D's, whatever. Just bubble in guesses for 16 through 25. And then spend the entire 35 minutes solving the first 15 questions. I have a hypothesis that this is going to immediately lead Angelica to a higher score than whatever she's getting today. Because, you know, she might be doing 22, 23 questions, but missing 10 of them.
Yeah.
And if that's what she's doing, which I think that's what most students are going to do who follow all this dumb advice about selecting which questions you're going to do, or first pass, second pass, or any of that bullshit. If you're doing that, then your accuracy sucks. And you're just, I can guarantee you're attempting too many questions, and you're not actually solving them. You're not actually really doing the questions. You're just skimming the surface. It looks like you're doing it, but you're just not doing it. Oh, by the way, if that experiment, you know, if 15 questions in 35 minutes, if it's like you nail all 15 of them, then that's very good news. And next time, maybe you could try 20.
Yeah, but if you nail all 15, that's amazing.
Right. But what's actually going to happen is Angelica is going to realize she's going to do 15 and she's going to miss some of them.
Yep.
Because Kaplan or Princeton or whatever, they're just not teaching her how to solve the questions. So, you know, that's where it's going to be real harsh reality, where it's like, dude, your problem is not pacing. Your problem is that you can't get the questions right.
Yeah.
So the solution to that is you have to slow down, and 15 might be too many. I mean, you might need to do 10 questions in 35 minutes. Or as Ben started off with, what about 5 questions? Can you get the first 5 right? Then maybe can you get the first 10 right? Then maybe can you get the first 15 right? Because you have no business doing question number 20 if you already missed 7 questions on the way there. What's the point of that? You're not getting paid for the work you're doing. Okay. Yeah. That's enough for Angelica.
Well, I guess, what was I going to say? One last thing here. Don't think that we're saying, oh, limit yourself to 15 so that in a week you can do 20.
No.
This process is going to take a while for you to get up, but it's in the long run, it's the fastest way to get the best score.
Thank you for writing in. Sorry for the harsh reality. I really do think that your LSAT prep class sucks. I don't care if you got it for a discount. I don't care if you got it for free. I don't care that you already paid for it. You're wasting your time. I mean, you're spinning your wheels. You're getting actually bad advice out of that class. So you need to quit. You don't go get the most out of it, like just because you spent money on it. Just quit. I mean, use our Demon free resources, if nothing else, but stop paying attention to those guys. Jane writes in with a quick personal statement question. She says, hey, I've been excited to write the show for a long time. I started using the Demon a little over a year ago, and I just scored 176 on the June LSAT. I recommend the Demon to everyone that I know that is remotely interested in the LSAT. That's really nice. Congratulations on the 176, Jane. Fantastic. That's what happens when you learn how to actually answer the questions instead of learning all these gimmicks. To my question, I am wondering which topic to cover in my personal statement. Option 1 is the mission I served for the Church of Jesus Christ. I know this is a religious experience and might make it a risky choice. Mainly, I think it's notable because it's very different. And during this experience, I mastered 2 languages through personal study and experience speaking to people. The second option is the litigation work I've done in a business law firm. I'm only wary of this choice because I'm not sure whether it's too generic. I know many law school applicants have the same work experience. Thanks. Feel free to roast me. I just want to make my application as strong as I can now that the LSAT is out of the way. This doesn't look roastable to me. What do you think Jane should do about her personal statement?
Well, I think that your mission experience almost certainly involved a lot of work. You learned 2 other languages. Ignoring the religious aspect of it, there's a lot of work, hard work that you did, and that could be worth talking about. But I just feel like the potential baggage that comes along with that for who knows who's going to read your application isn't worth risking. In light of the fact that you have this other great alternative, which is litigation work in a business law firm, which I think you think is too generic, right? You said it's too generic. So what? That doesn't matter. So your reason for not doing your second option isn't good. I would just do that.
Litigation in a business law firm is why lawyers make 6 figures.
Yeah.
And it's like you're doing the exact type of work that leads to alumni who build buildings on campus. You're like, that's the front door. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Jane's looking to her left and looking to her right and going, I look just like all these other people. Good. You look just like all these other people who are going to go into big law. That's fantastic. That's what they want.
She looks like a lot of people, but not the vast majority.
Well, she has a 176. No, but it is like, I think that is who's going through the doors of Columbia.
Sure.
That is who's going through the doors of Harvard and Stanford and Yale. And like that, just she's an excellent applicant. She has work in law. It's a business law firm that does litigation.
Yeah, it's right up their alley. And the other thing here is your mission experience is going to be on your resume. I mean, it took up a big chunk of your life. So you're not going to not have that.
I would emphasize the languages. I would de-emphasize, Jane put Church of Jesus Christ in this email.
Yeah.
I hate that it's capitalized. Like it jumps off the page.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, do you want Church of Jesus Christ to be your brand, or do you want litigator to be your brand? Because Church of Jesus Christ, for some people, that's going to be a positive. For many people, it's going to be a neutral. And for some people, it's going to be like, oh, here we go. Another Bible thumper.
Yep.
And they're, like some people are going to discriminate against you because of that.
They won't say that, but that's what they'll do.
No, they won't, but they will. On the other hand, litigation in a business law firm, they have never discriminated against someone for that ever. Like not one applicant has not gotten into law school because, oh yeah, well, we have too many people with litigation experience. Said no law school ever. Yeah.
They know that you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. The admissions offices, they give such bad advice, right? They try to, it's almost like they're telling applicants like, oh, let your freak flag fly. We want to see what makes you really different and special and unique.
Yeah.
But the truth is that most law schools are like in their wildest dreams, like what they really want to do is they want to create law firm partners. That is their job. That's
Yeah.
where the money comes from. In this business, the money comes from the law firms. So they are trying to create worker bees for law firms. And when you come in with business litigation and you're like, yeah, here's how I kicked ass in my law firm, that looks great. And if you want, like, the truth is, you want to do asylum work for refugees.
Don't talk about that.
No.
Talk about your litigation experience at a business law firm. Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Yep.
They're going to say, don't tell us what you think we want to hear. I'm telling you, do that. Do that. Because that's just like that's where they're sending most people, right? The prestige of a school is correlated extremely highly with their big law placement.
Yep.
And big law firms are not going to be excited about the Church of Jesus Christ. Big law firms are going to be excited about litigation experience and knowing what you're getting into, and long hours and hard work and detail oriented and perfection focused. And, there's one. Yeah, it's pretty clear to me.
Good luck, Jane. Thanks for writing in.
Yeah. Next one's from Matt. Subject is 3-3 programs accepting students from other schools.
Hey guys, I recently learned that at least one school, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, is opening their 3-3 program to students from other universities. My understanding is that in the past, 3-3 programs weren't that attractive because schools locked you in, and theoretically you would offer you less scholarships.
Not theoretically. I mean, I guess it does intuitively stand to reason. Our prior would be, yeah, if you're in this program, then what incentive do they have to offer you scholarships? But we've also seen actual programs that are just clearly not going to give you a scholarship. So,
yeah, and just to clarify, 3-3 programs are where you do 3 years of undergrad and then you immediately go to 3 years of law school. Is that
yeah,
the
and
idea?
I want to just go ahead and say that these programs are bullshit to begin with. Are you fucking kidding me? University of Nebraska, Lincoln, you're really telling an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old or whatever it is, 17-year-old, you're really taking 17, 18, 19-year-olds and putting them into a program that it's a 6-year program that's going to give them a JD. The success of that has to be like pretty abysmal. How many people are actually making it through this program? How many people are actually becoming lawyers at the end of this? What kinds of lawyers are you actually creating here? Because I just don't think 17, 18-year-olds are really equipped to make a decision like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
If schools are now no longer able to, quote, lock you in, would 3-3 programs be more attractive? I know the boat has already passed for me and a lot of others, but this would be a cool way for some students to save some undergrad tuition dollars if it works out. This is like trading what? You save a little bit on something so that you can then spend a ton more on 3 years of law school. You can go to law school for zero tuition.
At a shitty law school, by the way. I mean, University of Nebraska, Lincoln? What is that?
89. Yep.
Yeah, University of Nebraska. It's ranked 89th in the country. So it is the equivalent of other prestigious law schools such as UNLV, Duquesne, Pittsburgh, American, Penn State Dickinson, St. Thomas in Minnesota, New Mexico, Montana, like just a bunch of other law schools that you've never heard of. I don't see how this benefits the people who are in that program.
No, they're just trying to lock people in. That's what exactly
Ben, what's your guess? What's the acceptance rate of University of Nebraska Law School? Ranked 89th in the country. What's the acceptance rate?
I'm going to guess 92%.
No, it's not that high, but it is 61%. And, so just point is, it's like not a prestigious school. Their 50th percentile LSAT is 158.
Yeah.
Let me look at their scholarships, by the way. They do not offer conditional scholarships. Okay, here we go. Way down on the third page, grants and scholarships. 82% of the students at this school receive a grant. 40% of those are somewhere between half and full. 12% are full. And 21%, Ben, are more than full.
Wow.
So if we add up half, full, and more than full, we get 73% of the school. 73% of the
Pays less than
students at
half.
this school are paying less than half tuition. 33%, a full 1/3 of the students are paying nothing at all. And if you sign up for this 3-3 program, you are not getting a scholarship. You're going to be paying tuition. Oh, so what are they doing? Oh, they're opening the doors of their 3-3 program to undergrads at other schools. So you can actually transfer into their 3-3.
I wonder how that works with the other school. I guess you just leave. You're like, I'm done. So Matt says, as far as I can tell, the requirements are 1, already be in a 3-3 program at a different university.
Oh, these
2,
scams are going on at other schools. Okay, great. So they're trying to just get you from another 3-3. Got it.
2, be above the median LSAT and UGPA.
Sure. So they're poaching the best students from other 3-3s. Got it.
Wait, so you have to be above the median LSAT and UGPA?
Yeah, because your LSAT
Lincoln?
and UGPA, well, you just have to have above a median LSAT already. You probably had to take the LSAT to get into the 3-3 to begin with. So it's their UGPA at the school you're transferring from. And you have to also be above the median LSAT probably at Lincoln. Yes.
So then, which they would give you a full ride anyway.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay.
Yeah.
This sentence is a tad bit concerning, says Matt. Quote, it is suggested that students admitted to the 3-3 law college program meet with an undergrad advisor to discuss changes in their eligibility status for current scholarships and financial aid.
That's a bad comma in that sentence.
Yep.
This is a scam. This place sucks. Don't do this.
Yeah. These are all scams.
Yeah. The 3-3 programs are a scam. Don't do it. Now, if Yale has one that I don't know about, tell me. But at a school like University of Nebraska Lincoln, this is bullshit. They're trying to get 6 years worth of tuition out of you. How do we turn an undergrad who's going to pay us 4 or 5 years of tuition? How do we turn that into a bigger source of revenue? Well, we just create these bullshit 3-3 programs that half of the people are going to drop out of and convince these kids that they're getting a great deal when actually what they're going to get is a worse deal on law school.
Yep.
Like a way worse deal on law school. Matt, you'll never end up going to this garbage law school. Or if you do, you're going to go for free. If you do this 3-3 program, you're going to go pay for this school. But if you got a full ride, if you don't do the 3-3, if you apply broadly, if you follow our advice, the same school is going to give you a scholarship and you're going to turn them down because you're going to go to a better school that gives you a scholarship.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for throwing the idea out there, Matt. This next email here is from Caleb. The subject is maximizing my visit to potential law schools.
Dear Ben and Nathan, I'm preparing to apply to law schools this fall, a decade removed from a low UGPA, but aiming for a high LSAT score as a, quote, reverse splitter. If you're not done with your LSAT yet, I think you might be jumping the gun by trying to apply to law schools this fall, but I'll continue. This fall, my wife and I intend to visit East Coast cities that host several schools I'm considering. The trip serves dual purposes, exploring these cities as potential homes for our family and visiting as many law schools as possible. From your perspective, how advantageous could it be to secure face-to-face meetings with the admissions teams during these visits? Moreover, how can I strategically use such interactions to boost my admissions chances and increase the likelihood of substantial scholarship offers? Is the period between late September and early October an optimal time for this trip? Your insights would be immensely valuable. Best regards, Caleb. My default presumption is that you should cancel this trip and work on your LSAT. But if we assume that Caleb is going to kill the LSAT or already has killed the LSAT, but that's not what he says. He says he's aiming for a high LSAT score. He's not done with his LSAT. Do you think he should be gallivanting around the East Coast visiting law schools?
No. So look, and Caleb, you're worried about, hey, how can I use these meetings to boost my admissions chances and increase the likelihood of a substantial scholarship? You do that by improving your LSAT even by 1 point.
Well, that's the wrecking ball, right? Like we talked about this on a previous episode, that the LSAT is the wrecking ball. You're sniffing around, Caleb. You're like, well, but if I go visit these schools, if I pay thousands of dollars to go on this trip around the East Coast and visit all these cities, and it's like this fantasy of law school, right? You're dragging your wife around and you're showing her all these fancy places. And it's like, okay, but the truth is, oh, sorry. And to finish my metaphor, he's like nosing around looking for these like secret entrances, right? He's looking like, oh, but if I get to know the admissions person, then that might give me a leg up. And, you're going to like get in the back door.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, other people are focusing on the LSAT, and the LSAT is just fucking knocking down the wall of this school.
Yeah.
And you just breeze right in without ever without any visits, without knowing anybody, without anything. It's the LSAT that's really going to get you in. So hope you'll stay focused on that instead of thinking about your applications. And Jesus Christ, visiting schools, it just seems like a total waste of time if you're still studying for the LSAT.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's assume for a second that Caleb does knock it out of the park.
Yes. Let's assume he's already done it, right? Let's assume he's got a 175 on record.
I still don't like this timeline, because what I would prefer is that Caleb apply broadly, get offers that will preemptively knock some schools out of contention immediately.
Other schools will jump into contention that you had never even thought about.
Exactly. And then once you get down to the wire, if you really you have 2, 3, 4 fairly equal offers, which may happen, that's less likely. I think there's still going to be one that's financially way better. But if you do, and you need to decide, and you want to also figure out where you want your family to live, then you can go look at those options. The problem with going early is if you, or maybe your wife, falls in love with a city or a school that never comes back with the offer, now you're fighting this fight of like, oh, but honey, we loved Arlington, just outside of DC. Oh, it was just amazing. Yeah, I know you only got half there, but wow, we could live there. And
I
wouldn't
could really
that be
see us living here? Yeah, yeah.
And now you've opened a door that you should have never even knocked.
You also have to understand the sharks that you're swimming with when you do this, right? Like if you go to these law schools, you're only going to meet admissions folk. Or primarily you're going to meet admissions folk. And if you meet any students, it's going to be students that are introduced to you by the admissions folk. So like you're walking into their sales team, and these sales teams are super slick. So they're going to get to know you.
You're going to the best class.
Yeah.
You're going to the teacher who's charismatic, everybody loves, can't get enough of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are going to give you the best sales pitch they possibly can. They're going to like let you think that you're developing a personal relationship with them. They're going to let you think that you're going to have a strategic advantage if you apply to this school because you made a connection with this person.
Yeah.
And that's just them selling. They're trying to get their hooks into you. So I agree. And I don't think that the wife is, Ben's like blaming it on the wife falling in love with Arlington or whatever. But I would think that Caleb could also be really susceptible to these tactics where, he goes to a school and they like perfectly brush up his ego just enough, where they're like, oh yeah, I think you'd fit in great here. You're just the type. Oh, you have a low undergraduate GPA. Yeah. But you're not just numbers to us. And we really, oh, wow. You're the captain of your intramural soccer team. That is fantastic. I hope you'll write about that in your personal statement. They give you all this bullshit to just try to get you to apply, hopefully to only their school. And so my advice would be you flip this entirely. You do no visits, you apply broadly. And then once the first offers are in, then you can go visit schools so that you can determine how much you really want to go to this school, or let them consider how much they really want you to go to that school.
Look, sometimes schools may even offer to
fly you out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you solve this whole problem, Caleb, and save yourself thousands of dollars on this trip. God, he wanted to visit as many schools as possible. That is such a waste of time. I mean, you're going to visit dozen schools and they're all going to just tell you the exact same bullshit.
Yeah.
Or you're going to make decisions based on like really silly things, Oh,
that admissions officer was nice. And you're going to tell yourself, oh, we're not making the decision based on that, but I don't know. It just seemed like a nice place. It
Yeah,
seemed like everybody's really friendly
totally.
there.
The vibes are just, they have this clinic. They're going to be selling you on this like slick, look at this clinic that we offer and no other school offers this. And next thing you know, you're only applying to that school. And that clinic, by the way, is like a thing that you can maybe do in your second year if you apply for it. And they take 5% of the applicants. And it's probably not even going to be a thing for you, but they're selling it super hard that you're going to be able to do this clinic. Just,
Yeah.
you got to stay away from these. Really, it's just sharks. Like, you don't need to go swimming with the sharks. You can instead focus on your business, Caleb, which is the LSAT right now. And it should be
Also,
only the LSAT right now.
I mean, I don't know your whole family dynamic and how many kids you have, if any, but look, here's another thing to keep in mind. I just want to throw this out there. Let's assume for a second that you end up picking the school that gives you the most money. And it happens, I don't think this is likely, but it happens to be in the worst possible city. It's 3 years. Take all that money you saved and you can go wherever you want.
Yeah, totally. Like, oh, you didn't like Houston? Well, nobody likes Houston. Whatever. Like, you were only in the law library the whole time anyway, which is air conditioned. So you're not going to die. And yeah, I would just apply broadly. I hate this. I did it myself. When I applied to law school, I made all the wrong decisions. And I know how it feels to be, your ego gets caught up in it. You start, you're walking around and you're like, oh yeah, this place is fancy. Yeah, you're right. And the admissions officers are, yeah, I just see you here. This feels like you do seem like a Hastings sort of a person, and it's like, they're just pumping you up.
And when you apply, make sure to send me an email.
A personal
Just
note.
Let me know that your application is in.
Yeah, let me know that you applied. Yeah, they're going to get more out of it than you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
These visits. And by all means, after they admit you, if you want to just do these visits, then great. But if you think that the visits are going to help you get admitted, you need to be working on the LSAT. That's what's going to help you get admitted. Want to move on? Talk to Jay?
Yep. Yeah. Subject is, will post-grad undergrad courses affect UGPA? Hey guys, one thing you've mentioned before is how people don't usually know what they want to do in law before attending the school. I'm not certain, but I think I'd enjoy patent law. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, I graduated with a BA.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed the few science and engineering courses I had in undergrad, so I have no issue with taking a few more to qualify for the patent bar. But here are my concerns. Will taking more undergrad courses post-graduation affect my UGPA?
No.
Nope, it's locked in.
Once you've graduated, it's locked in. If you had not graduated, you could take more classes to change your GPA. But if you have graduated, that ship has sailed.
2, is it even wise to spend the time and money on these science courses if I may not even enjoy IP law?
Sounds very sketchy to me. How many classes is it? I mean, I thought that the patent bar might have required more than just a BA plus a few science classes.
Yeah, how much are we talking about here, right? I mean, honestly, if you love science, maybe there's value in taking these classes and realizing that you have a different path ahead of you, not law.
Yeah. Like IP law is a very much long shot. This is one of those things that law schools like to talk about. They're going to have the glossy brochures and they're going to show you all of their fancy bullshit that they do. And, oh, we're close to Silicon Valley, so we have a connection to whatever. Or, out here in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're on the Route 128 corridor and we have these connections to this slick, whatever. And they're going to have a clinic or something, right?
Yep.
They're going to have 2 classes in IP law and they're going to try to sell you on this dream. But I think the truth of IP lawyers is, like, if you're not already a scientist or an engineer, it's just probably not going to be the path for you.
Yeah.
It seems very unlikely. my guess would be that you're going to have to do a whole additional bachelor's degree. It's almost like a starting over. I could be totally wrong about that. Maybe the patent bar really is not that big of a deal. I don't know. I had fantasies. Whenever I hear any of the reasons why I went to law school, that's when I get really worried, because I was completely naive. I knew nothing. And I was like, oh yeah, I think IP law, that makes sense for me.
Yeah, I could take that on. Yeah.
Which was just a complete fantasy, not grounded in reality at all.
Yeah. Anyways, Jay continues, I guess I'm trying to determine if I can start studying for the LSAT now or not. I want to put appropriate effort into those science courses if they will impact my UGPA. Thanks, Jay. They won't affect your UGPA. Hopefully, if you decide to do them, there's not that many of them and they are not that expensive.
Most people should not go to law school. Too many people go to law school. There's too many really bad schools. Something like half the people who go to law school never end up practicing law. Jay, I want you to be sure that you want to be a lawyer. Do you know what lawyers do? Do you have any legal experience? Have you ever this sounds like somebody who has potentially never sniffed anything in this industry at all. And if you haven't, I think if you do want to pursue this path, what about being a paralegal? What about being a legal secretary? Can you get any kind of an internship, any kind of a job inside any kind of a law firm or law office?
Yeah.
Can you get yourself some practical exposure to this field so that you can figure out what the hell you're getting yourself into? Because, I want to be a patent attorney is like just a fantasy for so many people who don't know what they're getting themselves into. If you're into science, by all means, take some science classes. That's great. Like if you're going to take a class and kick ass in it, then do it, even though it doesn't affect your UGPA. But I wouldn't be doing that for law school admissions purposes. I would be doing that because you want to contribute to the sciences. Good luck.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you for writing in.
Be LSAT famous. Please ask questions or share news with us at thinkinglsat.com. Questions about the LSAT Demon? You can email help@lsatdemon.com. You can also check out our other podcast, LSAT Demon Daily. That was episode 410 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing ya. Don't pay for law school.